town was like a cradle of silence and tranquility. Yet, this peace gave way to fear as night fell. Every night, shadows would appear and roam the streets of the town. These shadows reflected the deepest fears and most hidden secrets of the people. No one knew where these shadows came from or what they meant. Although the townspeople tried to ignore the shadows, their presence was an undeniable reality. The shadows insidiously spread to every corner of the town, seeping into the souls of its inhabitants. For some, these shadows represented regrets of the past. For others, fears of the future. Everyone saw something different, but all shared the same feeling: unease. One night, one of the town's eldest residents decided to unravel this mystery. They walked into the shadows and followed them. They realized that the shadows represented forgotten memories of the town's past. These memories were truths that had been hidden and unspoken since the town's founding. As the elderly person began to understand the message of the shadows, they started to see the dark events in the town's history and their effects on the present day. As the town's streets brimmed with the dance of shadows, the fear in the hearts of its residents grew. The shadows emerged as an inevitable truth before everyone's eyes. Yet no one wanted to accept them. While people tried to understand the meaning of these dark entities, they also attempted to keep their distance. The shadows, however, persisted silently and insistently, creeping into every nook of the town. Even as people withdrew into their homes and locked their doors tightly at night, they could feel the cold touch of the shadows. The shadows slipped through windows, casting terrifying shapes on the walls. The townspeople wondered what these shadows were, why they were there, and most importantly, how they could be stopped. It took courage to uncover the truth behind these mysterious beings. Yet, apart from one of the town's oldest inhabitants, no one was willing to take that step. To follow the shadows meant to step into their world, a risk too great for the townsfolk. The elderly person who discovered the connection between the shadows and the town's past decided to share this knowledge with others. However, they knew how heavy these truths could weigh on the townspeople. The darkness brought by the shadows covered not just the night, but also the souls of the people. With the oldest resident's discovery of the truth behind the shadows, a curiosity stirred among the townspeople. The idea that the shadows represented the forgotten memories of the town's past began to circulate in everyone's mind. Yet, this knowledge was both unsettling and elucidating for the townsfolk. The presence of the shadows was no longer seen as a threat, but as a bearer of messages. Guided by the shadows, the elderly person began to uncover secrets that had been hidden since the town's founding. These secrets were ingrained in the town's foundation and had not been spoken of for generations. The shadows whispered these secrets, bending to the ear of the elderly, narrating the town's forgotten tales. The townspeople, following the lead of the elderly person, tried to learn to speak the language of the shadows, to communicate with the shadows. To understand their messages was to confront the town's past. During this process, the townsfolk began to face and overcome the fears brought by the shadows. The messages of the shadows shed light on the dark events in the town's history. As the elderly person began to see the effects of these events on the present day, the townspeople also confronted these truths with them. The shadows were revealing the realities that the town had avoided facing. The elder who began to understand the messages of the shadows was determined to expose the dark events in the town's history. The shadows whispered the events of the town's past, the truths that the residents wished to forget. As the elder began to uncover the present-day effects of these truths, the townspeople were ready to confront them alongside. The townspeople, under the guidance of the elder, tried to comprehend the messages brought by the shadows. The shadows were revealing the truths that the town had been avoiding. During this process, the townspeople grew closer to each other and began to share the burdens of the past. The elder, guided by the shadows, revealed the dark events of the town's past one by one. Each shadow carried the story of someone who had once lived in the town. Their pains, joys, and regrets. The shadows were teaching the townspeople how to cope with the unresolved truths of the past. As the townspeople understood the messages of the shadows, they began to see the dark events in the town as history and their effects on the present day. The shadows were exposing the truths that the town had been avoiding. The elder and the townspeople, by confronting these truths, started to unite to move the town as future to a better place. Under the guidance of the town as eldest resident, the bridge of communication established with the shadows freed the townspeople from the chains of the past. The shadows had transformed from secrets lurking in the town as dark corners to symbols of enlightenment. Each shadow carried a lesson, a story, a beacon of hope from the town as past. Guided by the shadows, the people were shedding the burdens of the past one by one, stepping into the future with lighter feet. The dance of the shadows had turned into a celebration on the town as streets. Every evening, the residents met with the shadows, sharing stories of the past and dreaming of the future together. In this process, the bonds among the townspeople had strengthened, and their trust and understanding for each other had deepened. The elder, with the guidance of the shadows, had illuminated the dark events of the town as past and enabled the people to confront these events. The shadows now represented not the truths the town had avoided facing, but the lessons it had accepted and learned. Armed with these lessons, the townspeople looked towards the future with more hope. The story concludes with the town as residents making peace with the shadows and stepping into a brighter future by leaving behind the burdens of the past. The shadows had become a part of the town, the narrators of stories, witnesses of the past, and guides for the future. Together with the shadows, the townspeople were walking towards a brighter, more hopeful tomorrow.